Welcome everyone to a special Excalibur Roundtable Tech Talk. This is part of our extended Tech Talk series, and I have Kam with me from our friends at AlertOps. Kam, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, hi Mike, thanks for having me on.
Now, as many of you may know from having watched me yak on Facebook or in some of the previous extended Tech Talks that Kam and I have done on AlertOps, AlertOps is an alert management platform, but also has capabilities to do automations as part of its platform. Obviously, alerts are automations, and so being able to extend it into new use cases and new scenarios, being able to help you do some of the things that you need a richer, more robust automation platform for. We've got some neat use cases that have come up, and one of the first ones that Kam and I wanted to talk with everyone about and tackle is a DevOps scenario. Obviously, from a DevOps perspective, a DevOps scenario may have change management and other things where we could leverage AlertOps to do the automations to notify stakeholders of the change and those sort of things. But this scenario you're going to take us through goes so much deeper and provides such a richer experience and, quite frankly, time savings to organizations that we wanted to be able to kind of walk through it with you. And it's one of many scenarios that you're going to see some extended tech talks of Kam and I talking about as different scenarios and use cases have been developed over time. Now, we're going to hit the highlights of this. I was asking Kam, how long would it take to go through this and all the steps? And he goes, well, give me about 90 minutes because there's a lot of detail that can be gone through. So we're going to hit the highlights, but I think that'll give everybody a very, very good idea of what this might be able to do for their organization. So Kam, I'm going to have you share your screen and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. So really what we're going to cover today is a very specific aspect or a specific use case in terms of how AlertOps might be able to facilitate the DevOps flow there. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to jump in to a quick presentation that covers really what the moving parts in this scenario are, right? So this Devops Sample scenario is going to cover deployments as well as application errors and rollbacks and how we would come to a resolution or remediation as a byproduct of detection and a new deployment that has caused an error within an application. So really the areas and the moving parts within this particular scenario are what you see right here. So we have a source code management tool, we have a CI/CD tool. In this case, we're using Git and Jenkins, but really AlertOps, because of its flexible API, can interact with any of your source code management tools or CI/CD tools as long as they can interact via API. In addition, we have the actual application that is being monitored and the application monitoring tool. In this case, we're leveraging AppDynamics. We have AlertOps as part of this overall flow, so ingesting as well as orchestrating the processes based on data ingested by each one of these points. We can also facilitate interaction with the bug tracking system. In this case, we have Jira as an example, and then similarly, we can plug in virtually any ITSM that you would like into this process. So to give you an idea of really what is happening in this flow that we're about to take a look at, we can see this little diagram. So our source code management tool, Git, is going to send a commit. So once a commit has been posted with the latest change, then at that point, that will send an alert into AlertOps just to provide visibility that, hey, someone has committed some level of code change. Once that has been committed, Jenkins, our CI/CD tool, will then go ahead and post the build. Once the build is successful, or if the build fails, that will also communicate into AlertOps. So already we see a pattern emerging here where AlertOps is a central repository of all information throughout the course of this incident. Once that build occurs, then it's going to go and the application is going to function. We have our application monitoring tool, in this case, AppDynamics. Once an application error has been detected by AppDynamics, that will also post into AlertOps. So we have, at this point, generated an alert with three different things. One, the actual issue that's posing a problem for the actual application under that's being monitored. we have the latest change that was made to the code, as well as the information around what the build looked like. So already you have a very, very concise and consolidated view, so a single pane of glass into pretty much every single thing that occurred to allow this error to show up in the first place. Now, once it reaches AlertOps, AlertOps will carry out the orchestration as we normally do. We have our scheduling, workflows and escalations, as well as the automations with external tools. So in this case, we have notifications to internal and external stakeholders, our actual escalation process through our response teams. And then in this case, we have an automated or potentially even a manual method in the case you need some human intervention to do things like automatically open up a JIRA issue or an incident ticket or update an incident within a status tool. And once that has been done, Jenkins, in this case, AlertOps will send a signal to Jenkins to automatically roll back to the latest working deployment. Once that's done and we have the error cleared by our application monitoring tool, that will close out the alert in AlertOps, and AlertOps will kick off automations to automatically provide visibility in each one of our status or ticketing tools, as well as provide information around the last commit from our source code management tool for postmortem analysis or incident remediation. So what really AlertOps is doing is providing that single pane of glass. Now, in the case that we didn't have an AlertOps sitting in the situation, an engineer that recognized an application monitoring issue would have to jump into their source code tool. They would have to jump into their CI/CD tool, as well as their APM tool, just to get the base level insight that AlertOps would provide immediately at the start of an incident. In addition, we're also interacting bidirectionally with each one of them to orchestrate that process. So 90% of this would otherwise be manual, but with AlertOps sitting in the middle, we're able to automate that process.
And we're also leveraging, when I look at this, you've got kind of that automation of the commit and then the rollback if that's necessary. But AlertOps, one of the things that we've talked about so often is it's handling that level of communication that's necessary, where it's not just notifying the teams that might, manually roll it back if that's what their choice was to do, or stop AlertOps from doing an automatic rollback, but also keeping stakeholders and other parties that may need to know what's happening in the loop. So this doesn't, now the interesting thing is when you start to look at this level of orchestration, by the time anybody reads the email, AlertOps may have already solved the issue to get us back to a functional state. But it's done. The coolest thing that I look at in here is it's now set all of the things depending upon what we set up in its workflow to create either the incident ticket from it having occurred, potentially depending upon the customer's workflow, a problem record for a root cause analysis as to what happened. We might even potentially issue an emergency change that this rollback has happened, and the CAB might have approved these types of emergency changes to happen without any approval. But at the same time, with AlertOps platform flexibility, we could have it issue the change ticket and await the approval to go ahead and execute the rollback, and then we just go do it. The things that we'd be able to do, and that's one of the things, Cam, that is always exciting to me about the AlertOps platform is, not once said, well, it has to happen this way. The AlertOps platform is designed so as a customer, you can have it happen exactly the way you need it to happen based on your rules, roles, responsibilities, audit controls, or perhaps you're even under some sort of compliance requirements that things have to happen a certain way. You can set it up to work exactly the way you need it to work, and all along the way, what it's doing, like you said, taking away 90% of what would be manual work. And actually, obviously, there's going to be they're going to have to figure out what happened and why it happened. There's going to be some effort here to see what went wrong. But we're really resolving an issue, getting ourselves back to a working state in very speedy time, with very little interaction from human beings, with all of the notifications happening. And I could see a smile on a director's face going, he hasn't been able to look at his email because he was just in a meeting. He sees that, okay, hey, the commit's going on, and almost immediately there's some sort of problem, something that didn't get caught in testing, and everybody's been notified. We know we have a problem with XYZ application. Oh, by the way, we've now rolled back and committed the last known working build. Oh, and by the way, according to our application monitoring system, the system is now back online.
Yeah.
And so he gets that phone call from another angry director. Hey, my team was disrupted. Yeah, for about 5 minutes. And we're on top of it. And here's what's already happened, because you've got that level. Now, chances are, with some of the scenarios we've talked about, leveraging AlertOps for stakeholder notification, he never gets that call from the director, because the director saw the same communications. Maybe not, and this is one thing that's a distinction in AlertOps, may not have seen the exact same communications that the director of the development team might have, but as a stakeholder, they got their stakeholder notification saying, we've identified a problem, or we believe the problem is now resolved, and we'll have further information for you. And like you said, updating all sorts of various things that are going on. This is the kind of stuff that just, to me, when customers go and look to do stuff like this, and you have the ability to do it. Let's talk about AlertOps. Let's get you a demo. Let's look at some use cases where it can help you. Why is our phone not ringing off the hook? And when you start to think about all of us having to work from home, and for most of us, that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. You don't have the ability like we did, prior to the pandemic, and being able to walk down the hall and say, hey, Cam, App Dynamics is saying we've got a problem with that commit you just did. Oh, okay, and you can kind of, can we hop on a Teams meeting or something together? Sure, we could, but we've all got to recognize it's not as simple as it once was. And so leveraging these automation tools, communications are so much more critical now than they once were, because you can't just run down the hall and go, hey guys, nobody panic. It's all okay, we're on top of it. Or take the elevator down a couple floors and talk to them and crack a joke and whatnot. Now it's, we're communicating in other ways and in other methods. And those communications, as we've talked about before, are communications. That could be a posting to Teams. That could be any number of different communications methods. We're not just limited to and just talking about, oh, it's only an email communication. Of course, we're going to still send an email. That's still a primary, predominant thing that we're doing. But leveraging the AlertOps platform to this level of automation, and my mind's going wild with some of the other scenarios that I know in future episodes we're going to talk about, the things that can really be done. It's just amazing to me how far we've come.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit it right on the head when you said that each organization has their own processes, right? And as much as we'd like to believe that anything that moves out of a QA or a staging environment will never have a problem in production, that's just not the reality of it. So by being able to facilitate moving back to the latest working builds, even if there is an error with the latest build, we can ensure that, if any, we're minimizing the level of downtime. And at that point, you still have the opportunity to remediate what's not working with the formerly posted build, fix it, and then make sure it's working in production this time. So it's really about mitigating the level of impact for your end users. And similarly, some people may not want that to be automated, which goes back to the flexibility of it, right? You might want an engineer to look at the latest last commit, as well as somewhat have a bit of information around the latest build, and all of that is consolidated right there. So you're not jumping from tool to tool. And at that point, if it warrants rolling back the deployment, one button, and we're back to a working state. So absolutely.
That it's just, the things we can do today,
Yeah.
that are so great. So I'll let you kind of continue. I know you've got a little bit more to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So here, what we saw was really just the flow itself. So I'd like to walk you guys through what it might look like within AlertOps and how simple the actual usage of something like this might be. So now we are in AlertOps, and the first place I'd like to take a look at is our inbound log, which really captures all of the information that hits an AlertOps endpoint. So we can see in this particular environment that I have everything from my source code management tool to my build tool, the CI/CD tool, to my application monitoring tool, all posting within the same spot. So when I jump into a particular alert here, we'll see all of that information is consolidated under a single pane of glass. In this case, if I wanted to, I can very well execute actions to do things like get the last commit, roll back the deployment, or get the last build. So if you would want to populate this information on a via manual process, you can definitely do so, or have it completely automated. Now, if I jump into this alert, which looks almost the exact same, but it's more manual rather than it is automated. So for an organization that would want that layer of human intervention, we have these actions executing by manual intervention. Everything from updating status page to creating an incident to updating a bug, updating a ticket within your bug tracking tool, as well as providing information around the actual deployment. In the case you'd want to automatically create a web conference to do so as well. The level of flexibility in terms of what automations you can trigger while also having all of your information consolidated is a very powerful thing, especially within DevOps, when a lot of the times the issue involves you scrolling through 3,000 lines of a log file. And in this case, you have most of the information that you need right in front of you.
That is so. It's like so many things we see in the market today, really in an infrastructure and operations capacity, trying to bring together the disparate information and giving us a singular view from the various systems that are interacting to help us do the things that we need to do, because there's no one system that does everything from beginning to end. And so we want the ability to be able to see that single set of data. And like you said, you've got all the details in there, so it's very easy to kind of start to trace what went on, or as you showed in an outbound action, even potentially spin up a call for everybody to hop on, because maybe there was a reason this was being pushed out. It was correcting a deficiency, or maybe it's a security thing, and so we're going to need to attack this again right away. We can come in and say, okay, what happened here? Let's look at the details. We can all share the information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. These are the things I think for so many organizations, these are the things that have that impact, where we start to move from a reactive to more of a proactive mode, where things that manually, if we were to do it all manually, would take a significant amount more of time, because really the key is that recognition of the problem, and then you have to backtrace it. We can build automation that helps us to better manage and maintain our environments. And then, with the AlertOps platform itself, also handling the communications that need to occur for awareness and making sure nobody is left out of the loop. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks
really
for
appreciate you taking the time for letting me walk you through this one.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, and it's always great to get with you and see these new things. And one of the things we had talked about is we do these extended Tech Talk episodes, and folks, check out the channel, because there'll be new ones popping up. Is we're taking and we're being able to go through a real fundamental use case of how this may be used. I mean, the alerting stuff is pretty easy to wrap your head around. But when you start to now extend and marry the alerting with action, that's where the rubber really meets the road and where you can get extreme value out of your investment in the AlertOps platform. So thanks for joining me as always, Cam. I look forward to our next venture into a use case scenario.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the time.
All right. And thanks everybody for watching. Feel free to reach out to the team at Excalibur. We'll be happy to arrange your demo of AlertOps. And if you request it, we may be able to even get Cam there to talk to you about what the needs are. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.